Hillary Clinton, my awful experience. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. One of my most powerful videos is Give the Narcissist Enough Rope. The premise of that video, and you really ought to watch it, is that for the vast majority of narcissists, namely those which are lesser and mid-range, they will do things that out themselves. They will do things which cause evidence to exist demonstrating what they are, how problematic they are, and in some circumstances generate evidence which can be used against them. This is because those narcissists operate in the moment without any due concern for collateral consequences. And this is applicable even to powerful figures such as Hillary Rodham Clinton. Yes, as I've explained elsewhere, she is an upper mid-range narcissist, the top echelon of mid-rangers, operating with a haughty dismissiveness and a facade of superiority. Even someone as clever as her, with all of the political experience and savvy that she has, there has been an accumulation of evidence which demonstrates not only what she is, but also points to what an unpleasant individual she can be. And as part of the analysis of narcissists, I was directed to a video created by somebody called Fred Borden, who is a photographer. And he has a video entitled, "I photographed Hillary Clinton," open brackets, "and it was awful," close brackets. It's been viewed over 1 million times in the space of around about 18 months. And I'm going to utilize sections of this video in terms of describing what he talks about to help you understand more about the behavior of the narcissist, more about the behavior of Hillary Clinton, and also to demonstrate the principle of give the narcissist enough rope. Now, Mr. Borden commences by talking about some of his earlier recollections from dealing with difficult clients or ones that don't turn up. And he explains that the shoot was at Swansea University in Wales, and that he arrived bright and full of anticipation. He explained that he intended to give Clinton a copy of his book, my first book, Survivor, a portrait of the survivors of the Holocaust, in order to curry favour, to sort of differentiate himself from the reams of other snappers who'd taken her portrait over the years, and to demonstrate to her that he was a serious person and somebody to be reckoned with. He forms the conclusion that the PR advisor seems out of her depth as she shows the photographer from room to room as we try and find the perfect location in which to shoot Hillary Clinton. The day passed with tedium, and he explains that Clinton worked hard at being important, and when he got his opportunity, he presented his book. He explains that she seemed to be impressed, and I said to her, "I'm looking forward to photographing you later." He then goes on to explain that she spent the day shaking hands with dignitaries and also starstruck children and giving pompous speeches which were tinged with bitterness at her failure to beat Trump. Accordingly, you're seeing the grandiosity of the narcissist in giving the speeches, also the necessity of nullifying the threat to control posed by the defeat that she experienced to Donald Trump. The photographer goes on to explain that there were all sort of sycophantic flunkies fussing around and basically boosting her up. And there was the security detail lurking in the shadows all day. And then he explained that Decker, who was the writer that he was attached to, was summoned to do the interview. It was about 6:30 p.m. and Decker had been gone for about half an hour. And the light is good, but it's starting to go. So the photographer naturally is thinking, I must get my pictures. I've been waiting all day to do so. Naturally, he's a little bit put out that he hasn't yet been given the opportunity to undertake the portrait with Hillary Clinton and has been made to wait. This is symptomatic, of course, of the importance of the upper mid-ranger. Any narcissist, of course, believes that they come first, but upper mid-rangers particularly demonstrate that because they will often occupy positions of authority and status, and they want you to know about it. The narcissist will invariably use the power of making you wait as a means to put you in your place to ensure that you know who is the governing body in the dynamic. Accordingly, after waiting for so long, this photographer texts the PR individual, she's called Michelle, and explained that he needed to do the pictures now. He doesn't get a reply. So he texts her again. And then something, which he thinks, well, it's down to instinct, tells him that something's wrong. So he decides that he's going to go and investigate. He takes a deep breath. There's all of these security people there, which he found a little bit intimidating. And he explains he walks past them into the space outside of the room where the interview had been taking place between Decker and Hillary Clinton. And then Hillary Clinton emerges. She completely ignores him. And they're walking out of the building. Decker has done her interview, and she's sort of walking after them and sort of trying to explain to them that they have to do the photo shoot. So, in effect, he then reaches out to Hillary Clinton to try and stop her leaving, and he places his hand on her shoulder. And he explains that he sort of muscled her into his little makeshift studio. He was rather put out. He explains, how dare they go home after having kept me waiting for that long, and they never intended to do the shoot. They didn't even say goodbye. And as a consequence of that, he was irritated. He'd been made to wait all day, and it was clear that they just decided they weren't going to do it, once again demonstrating the haughty dismissiveness of the upper mid-range narcissist. Your time isn't important. You're there for me. I get to decide what is to be done. You work around me. He then explains that now he got her in front of the camera and he was releasing the shutter continuously. And he explained that that time was very precious to him because this is his job and he got what he required. But he found himself subjected to criticism from her flunkies as they were being rather aggressive, as if he was some kind of paparazzi photographer on the street rather than a portrait photographer who had been waiting 8 hours to do the photo shoot, which had already been part of the day's schedule. The fact is that the photographer was furious at being made to wait and the way that he was being treated by her coterie. He explained that he was so annoyed that afterwards he had to go and buy a packet of cigarettes to calm himself down as a consequence of the way that he'd been treated, even though he hadn't smoked for years. And the fact is, he could see that they behaved completely unreasonable. And he explained that he didn't care how much status she had. She knew that he'd been waiting all day. He'd handed over the book and that she was going to pose for the portrait, which, of course, he is a photographer. He needed it as part of his job, and he was made to wait. And even when he eventually found out that she was leaving and he tried to ensure that she was photographed, the flunkies, the coterie, started causing a problem for him. He explained that the whole nature of it was one whereby she was dismissive and didn't give a fudge about him. He had been booked in to take the photographs and he was ignored. And he's then made to wait 8 hours as a consequence of Hillary Clinton wandering around, doing speeches, talking to people, being bigged up by other individuals, and then undertakes an interview and then decides to leave, even though she knew that there was going to be a photo session. This is a poor experience on his behalf, and It's clear from the language that he uses that he was really cheesed off about the way that he'd been treated. But once again, it demonstrates the operation of the superiority of the upper mid-range narcissist. Admittedly, of course, Hillary Clinton's a busy individual, but the photographer had been scheduled into the day, and he was made to wait. And then even when he had his opportunity, he was treated as if he was something on the bottom of a shoe, with the attitude of the flunkies, of course, being one which is generated by their leader, i.e. Hillary Clinton, who said nothing at all to stop them with their haranguing of him and comments, etc. She simply stood there and had a photograph taken for the portrait, which, as you can see in the thumbnail, with the photographer next to the screen who's been talking about his experiences. Once again, the behaviour of a narcissist, pompous, up themselves, grandiose, and dismissive of the little person in their mind. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.